morning, Dr. Renzi. My name is Melissa Geist, and I'm here to talk about human sex trafficking and why it should be eradicated. With me today is my son, Jonathan Rosado. Good morning. Today I'm going to talk to you about a very sensitive topic that as a society we do not talk about very much: human sex trafficking, and it needs to be eradicated. Does this man look familiar? He should. His name is Robert Kraft, and he has been identified as a suspect in an illegal human trafficking ring out of South Florida. He, of course, denies the accusations. However, law enforcement indicates they have video proof of him engaging in illegal services at a massage parlor. The ladies were being held against their will at the massage parlor, being forced to perform sex acts with customers. This topic is being discussed on every news station due to Kraft's celebrity status. Unfortunately, human sex trafficking has been going on long before this breaking news. Human sex trafficking is defined as the new form of slavery. This type of slavery occurs around the world, and it has no boundaries. Women and children are the more victims in this type of crime. Due to the lack of education and society not fully understanding what human sex trafficking looks like, it regularly goes unnoticed. Human sex trafficking has existed for many, many years, and there are different forms. Some of those forms are prostitution, personal sex for personal gain, pornography, and other sexual services. Traffickers use force, fraud, and coercion to entice and control their victims. Young girls who leave home because they are either feeling unwanted by their families or they think they can do better on their own can end up in human trafficking situations. They may find an older gentleman that takes great care of them, buys them nice dinners, buys them expensive clothes, and then the trafficker makes them feel like they're the most important person in the world. In return, the trafficker expects them to repay them for all the niceties that they've given them. This is their first step into grooming them into victims. From there, they engage in emotional or physical abuse. They also use coercion in such that repay me for the things that I bought you, repay me because I let you live here for free. The victims are afraid to leave because they believe they are better off with the trafficker than maybe back out on the streets with nowhere to live or back in a home family situation that was unbearable. Human sex trafficking is a huge moneymaker for cartels and those engaged in this type of behavior. Some traffickers charge $400 an hour for sexual services with their victims. Over $150 billion is made annually across the nation. It is estimated that there are 20 to 30 million slaves throughout the United States and other countries. Excuse me. One might ask, how is this even possible? The main reason for this is that society is not educated in what to look for in a sex trafficking victim. People don't want to believe that that's actually happening in their own neighborhoods. Law enforcement continues to train on this subject, but they are met with roadblocks when meeting with potential victims, as the victims are afraid to speak out, knowing that there'll be repercussions when they're back with their trafficker. That could be either by physical abuse, lack of food, lack of water, lack of human necessities. There are 3 P's that I believe will help eradicate sex trafficking. It's to prevent, to protect, and to prosecute. The first step is prevention. In order to prevent human trafficking, legislatures across the nation must enact laws that will hold stiff consequences for those caught and convicted of human trafficking. Nations must work together to identify those potential victims and provide resources before they end up as victims. There are groups already working on proposing legislation and working towards ending this horrible crime. The Polaris Project is a nonprofit organization out of Washington, D.C. It's the leader in the global fight to eradicate human trafficking. This group provides a hotline for victims and others to reach out in order to get help and/or resources to get to a safe place. In order to protect our victims, potential and current victims, we must talk about the subject more. We need to educate our youth in middle and high schools about what human sex trafficking looks like. If they're being solicited over social media or in malls or places where these traffickers offer them a better life, they need to know what signs to look for. So many things get talked about on social media that children believe that it's true. We need to ensure that they know what's right from wrong in interacting on social media. We need to educate our teachers, law enforcement, the courts, and other first responders on what to look for when they come across a victim. Here in Orange County, where I live, our judges take a little deeper look into prostitution charges that come before the court. While most victims are very afraid to speak out, the court will invite an advocate into the courtroom and under the guise that they're going to explain the plea form and the charges that they're entering a plea to. These advocates then sit down with the prostitution defendants and talk about open and honest communication, how that they're there to help them, they can get them to a safe place, and they don't have to go back to their trafficker. Finally, we must prosecute the traffickers to the fullest extent of the law. In order to be able to prosecute them, we must ensure that law enforcement and other investigating agencies have the training and resources to combat human sex trafficking. Legislative leaders must make the funds available in order to make this happen. You might be asking yourself, how can I help to eradicate this problem? The first step is understanding what the victims look like. Learn how to identify them. Someone who doesn't make eye contact when talking to you. Bruises or other signs of physical violence are obvious. Uneasiness around the person they are with. Young girls that might be with much older gentlemen. Learn the indicators of sex trafficking that could put someone in that situation. Youth that are coming from broken homes. Addicts who are addicted to alcohol and substance. Hanging out with the wrong crowd, or signs of physical or emotional abuse. Create an awareness in your community. We all have community groups and community leaders that we can interact with. Speak at your local community centers. Talk to your local elected officials on ways that they can continue talking about this during their legislative sessions, enacting new laws, offering new resources to these types of victims. Volunteer. Find a local organization in your community that is working to combat this terrible crime. And finally, never give up fighting to end this terrible crime. If we come together as a society, we can make big things happen. I want to thank you for your time today and open the floor for any questions that you may have. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a great day.